computer. Hi, Jack.
Hi,
It's
Laurie.
so great to be doing this with you. You know, I credit you with reeling me back in 1994. Or somewhere in that time period. We met at a conference. I think you probably remember how we met. And you heard that I was an art teacher. And you were writing a curriculum on healthy thinking for 7th grade or junior high school students for the Safer Society Press. And that was our introduction. You just walked up to me because somebody told you I was an art teacher. And we wrote this book together, this curriculum. And through the years, you know, you've been like a brother to me. We found out that we have the same exact birthday, June 19, and we have just always connected back up at conferences. We did like 6 or 7 trainings for social services people in Vermont, mostly in Vermont and some in Connecticut. So to be doing this with you, I think the only reason I wrote The Secret of Love with Chris Heath was because you introduced me to the world of writing. And then you proceeded to write 5 books, right?
10, actually.
How many?
10, including the curriculum.
No, really? It's been 10? Wow. Ending with Seduced by Consciousness. That
Ending
was.
so far.
So far. Do you have another one in the hopper?
Possibly.
Well, you'll tell me about that after this, because this we're recording this so that it will be on an online course for people having difficulty dating.
Difficulty dating.
Yeah. You know, a lot of people, especially in our age range, I call it prime of life. A lot of people call it midlife or elders. I call it the prime of our life because our heads are screwed on better. And we've been kept quite active through our lives. So anyway,
Some of us have.
Say again?
Some of us have.
Some of us have, right?
Yeah.
You have. You've been hiking and.
Yeah, I feel very active.
Yeah. So you've got a really interesting story of how you don't even look to date and it happens to you. And you had an experience where the rug was pulled out from under you in a major relationship. So if you could speak to that, which will help the people listening to recognize that, well, you know, I don't want to say too much. I don't want to put words in your mouth. So
You're already doing it.
What's that?
I said you're already doing it.
I already have. Okay. What do you want to talk about that's going to be helpful?
Well, so what do you want me? You want me to say something about what I went through?
What you went through and how the understanding that you have about the principles, about how mind works, about separate realities, whatever insights that you came to as a result of what most people would consider an enormous loss.
Well, that story is in Seduced by Consciousness in detail. Right. But what I would say about it is that when a love leaves you, you know, so you're still deeply in love with somebody, and that love leaves you. It is not an uncommon thing to go into despair and suffering. And that's exactly what I did. No matter how much I understood that thought coming into consciousness creates our experience, when I was in that state, going into fear, trying to protect my ego, I was blind to that fact, blind to the fact that thought and consciousness were creating the feeling that I had. Like, it really seemed real to me, like total reality, and nobody could have talked me out of it. The only way that I was able to see my way through it was by having this enormous insight, epiphany, I would say, where I realized that matter didn't matter. Like, we are in form, and form doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is how we are part of the formless energy behind all life. And that the essence of ourselves is connected to that. And that's what life is, really. And we only create the illusion that we're separate from it, inadvertently. And even though I saw that so deeply, it didn't take me that long to forget it again. The next time I bumped into a relationship, because in relationships, I have a big blind spot. I go into fear. I try to protect my ego from getting hurt.
What do you mean you don't interfere?
I didn't say that. I didn't
Your
say
blind spot. You said in my blind spot. In relationships, I don't interfere. At least that's what I.
That's not what I said.
Okay.
I'm not sure what I said, but I didn't say that. We could rewind and find out what I said. But in relationships, I am blind to the knowing that I have in every other aspect of my life. And everybody's got their own blind spots. Mine happens to be in relationships. When I get hooked into the love of that other person, I tend to lose myself.
Can you say more about that?
That, like, if someone is blind to their ego in terms of how they treat other people, for example, they're not going to be, like, they're going to be blind to that fact in their life. So they might leave a lot of other people in their wake. They might leave a lot of other people kind of hurting in their wake because of the way that they've treated others out of ego, but haven't recognized that because they're blind to it. So I'm not doing that. I'm blind to something else. I'm blind to, as soon as I go into fear, it's reality to me. Fear in relationships, it's reality to me. To me, at that moment, it has nothing to do with thought and consciousness. It just has to do with reality. See, we're either seeing the creation of illusion through thought and consciousness, or we are seeing reality. And as long as we're seeing reality, we're stuck with the reality of it. That's what happens to me in love relationships. But I have beautiful relationships. It's just that when they start to I was going to say go down the tubes, but when something in them starts to fade, or starts to be other than what you imagined your love to be, that's when I go into fear and forget all about the principles. And I'm saying I'm not alone, because other people might not do it in relationships, but they do it in, like some people may do it in relationships in reverse, like when they're dating, for example. They might have this thought, I am alone and lost and not able to find somebody. Well, as long as you have that thought, you're alone and lost and not able to find somebody, you know, because that's real to the person. And you can't talk them out of it, but you could attempt to help them see how it is just creation of illusion through our use of the power of thought that comes through the senses and feels so real to us. And they and me at those times also forget about the fact that we are already perfectly whole and fine and pure love within the essence of who we are. So when people are dating, they often fall into the trap of thinking they'll be happy if they find someone out there. And that's the only way they're going to be happy, is if they find someone out there. Laurie, I think we just lost your sound. I saw you move.
I turned it off because the phone rang.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I don't know, that just kind of threw me off for a second there. So I forget what I was saying, but it sounded good at the time.
That's okay. What I have a question. Like,
Yeah.
What came to mind when you were talking was the story that Tikin and his wife have about when they came upon a really difficult decision concerning their relationship, that they would just, they would absolutely not talk about it unless the feeling was really nice between the two of them.
Right.
Have you found that that really is a guidepost that really, really helps move any conversation, no matter how difficult the conversation is? It'll
Well, it's
move
interesting.
forward if you
I would
talk about it in a nice state of mind.
I would like to be that way. I aspire to be that way. Now, the interesting thing is when your partner does not share the same intention, and it's their intention to talk about it from a different state of mind, like an unhealthy state of mind, then you can either say, I'm not talking about it right now because I'm not in a good state of mind, or you can engage when you're not in a good state of mind. So the question is, which way does it come out better? You know?
What
It's
about
not as easy. It's not as easy when a couple is in a different space. You know, when both people in the couple know that it's not wise to talk about it from a down state of mind, or a frustrated state of mind, or an angry state of mind, or fearful state of mind, or any of those things, or even a worried state of mind. You know, if a couple realizes that together, and the reason you don't want to talk about it in that state is because your mind is too like, and it's hard to hear something new and fresh at that time.
you're not in your right state of mind?
You're not in your right state of mind.
Hard to hear anything.
Hard to hear new insight from wisdom, that's for sure. Yeah.
What if, say, your partner doesn't understand that and wants to engage when they're not in a bad state, and you try to buy some time and say, I really want to talk to you about this, but I want to be in a better state for both of us when we do talk about it.
Mhm.
And they say, no, it has to be now.
Mhm.
And what if at that point you just listen? Just
Well,
listen.
that's what I was just going to say.
That engaging.
That's what I was just going to say. That's when any couple gets into a difficulty with each other.
Yeah.
There are two factors that make a difference, and that is a feeling of love and listening.
Yeah.
And with a feeling of love and listening, any so-called problem is going to be able to be heard and dealt with in a really nice way,
Yeah.
or in as nice a way as possible. And that's possible for any excuse me situation that comes up between people.
Yeah. Yeah.
But since this is supposed to be about dating, it's what is in the mind of the person who is seeking a date. You know, you like if you pin your happiness on finding a date, or finding a love of your life through a date or something like that, you're giving yourself up to the outside world, and it's luck if it happens. You know,
You're talking to the choir.
yeah, but when people are, well, you know, there are also listeners out there right now.
Right, right.
And but if people knew in their hearts, I'm okay no matter what happens, and you know, like, yeah, I'm gonna try for this date, but if it doesn't happen, it just like wasn't meant to be.
Right, right.
Then I'm fine. I'm fine. And so the what's the word I want? Not effectiveness. That's not what I'm trying to say. But since I can't come up with another word, the effectiveness of us being in happiness through being with other people depends on what we see about our own happiness from within, not from the outside world.
Yeah, that's so true. To me, that is the key point to dating, relationships, anything that is between two people, is recognizing the world is in here, is within us, within our
Right.
own mind. It's not out there. It's not how somebody else is behaving, what somebody else thinks of us, even what they think about the relationship. It's has nothing to do with that, which, could sound impersonal and cold, but it's really the reverse. It's knowing that we don't have to depend on another person for our gratification and our happiness. Wow, that really lets people off the hook. There goes
Yeah.
this phone again.
Yeah. So I actually have a question for you. Is that okay? Because you, I happen to know for a fact, used to be one of those people who pinned your happiness on what was happening in the dating world. And then you switched. What happened to you that made you switch?
Every time I turn the thing back on, the phone rings. I'm sorry, I thought I unplugged.
You must be a very popular person.
No, it only happens when I'm on these webinars, believe me. But it's so true, Jack. You know, like I spent a lot of time being miserable, feeling like
I
my
know, because you used to
happiness
talk to me
depended
about
on
it.
what's that?
You used to talk to me about it. I
And
know.
I used to talk to you, and yeah, absolutely. Like my life depended on being in a relationship. And lo and behold, out pops a book on relationships. And I have to say that the only reason this book turned out so great is because I was single, because it forced me to get somebody to help me write the book. You know, how can I put out a book on relationships as a single person? So that made me realize that, you know, life is perfect. We just have to embrace it. It's perfect the way it is. It's just a matter of embracing what it is. I am thrilled with the men that I have known in my life. And I got to know not for long periods of time. I've had lots of short relationships, but it's been wonderful to get to know different people. That's why I can go on a date. My idea is I'm going to have fun and meeting somebody new, and I have no expectation of it going anywhere. In fact, I'm shocked when it does.
What switched in your mind to now see that as opposed to what you were seeing before?
You know, how do you put these things into words except for the fact that I know my happiness has nothing to do with anything outside of myself, anything, including where I live, who I live with, um, none of that.
Mhm.
You know, I used to think, oh, I never had children. I'd love to get with a man who has grandchildren. That would be, oh my God, incredible. And so, you know where I get my grandchildren kicks? When I'm out and about walking, my favorite place to walk is around a reservoir, and there's always babies and dogs and strollers and children. And I have nieces to adore. And it's everywhere. It's not in the package we think it's going to come in, because that's our own imagination.
Yeah, and the package is in the outside world,
Right. In the illusion.
in the illusion.
Yeah.
Everything about the outside world is illusion
Everything.
because we can never know what it is but for our own thinking.
Thank you for saying that. Yeah. Say it again.
Anything that's happening out there in the world,
Yeah.
including a date or including a relationship, all happens within our head.
Yeah.
It comes to us through our thinking.
Yeah.
We never know what it is for real.
Right.
We can't know what it is for real. It's impossible because it always comes through our own thinking.
Our own personal reality.
Something is real out there, but we would never know what it is.
Right. Right.
You know, I was reminded of something in the conversation before when we were talking. You know, this notion of if it's meant to be, it will be.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I don't really know whether that's true or not.
Yeah. Right.
But the fact is, if you have that, if you have that as like a guiding belief, I guess, in your head,
Yeah.
then you're going to be fine no matter how things work out.
Yeah.
It's either going to be, it could even be wrong, but you're going to be fine because you got that in your head.
I'm so glad you said that, Jack, because I've used that exact phrase several times recently. It's as though things happen for a reason. I'm not a believer in any phrase, anything. But what I do see is the metaphor of nature. Nature has its own course. It's not dependent upon us in any way, shape, or form, unless we
Mhm.
build a canal or a beaver builds a dam or whatever, you know. But nature itself, there are twists and turns in the river. and we're part of the flow of life.
Mhm.
Whatever twist and turn comes to us, I am seeing more as a gift, because even if it is a challenge, there are a lot of challenges in life. But like Sid would say, we're all going to get our bumps and bruises. Just don't hang yourself in the process of it. We don't have to make it worse.
Mhm.
We can use our gift of thought to steer ourselves away from the rocks.
Well, that would be a thought at a higher level of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like every time we get a new thought or any thought, we're at a certain level of consciousness. And that level of consciousness is going to dictate what feeling we live in that moment.
Right.
And so if you have a thought, it's either meant to be or it isn't. There's a with that thought believed, there's a comfort in that about life. Because if something doesn't work out that you really wanted to work out, well, it just wasn't meant to be. Like I said, I don't know whether it's true or not, but I really believe that. And that's very comforting to me. Even if my partner went and was with somebody else, I would just feel like, well, I guess it wasn't meant to be for us.
Right.
Either that or the fact that that happened would have meant that we would have to go through something and we might come out at a higher plane.
Right.
And you never really know.
Right. Right. Exactly. It's about keeping your bearings through whatever twists and turns, ups and downs occur.
I just realized something.
What?
Dating happens in our head.
Say more. What do you mean?
That
Yeah.
we have an idea of what dating is to us. Whether we go online, whether we go to bars, whether we just go to meetup groups, however we want to meet people, we've got this idea in our head about what that means to us, to either meet people or not that way, to either find somebody in our life or not that way. It's all made up in our head. And then, so we very often set an expectation about it. And then we compare what actually is happening to the expectation. And very often we get bummed out.
Oh.
So we've used our power of thought to create the expectation. We've used our power of thought to see how things are going. We've used our power of thought to compare the two. And we're using our power of thought to bum ourselves out. It's all our own creation. So whatever we have in our head about dating, if it's being fulfilled, we're fine. If it's not being fulfilled, we're not fine, because we've made it up that way. But very often it doesn't get fulfilled the way that we make it up. And so we allow ourselves to be caught in, like, it's not going well, therefore I'm bummed. Therefore I'm suffering. Well, we're the ones that made all that up in the first place.
That's so true. And I think that's wonderful that you said that, Jack, because I think that essentially is why I've been able to enjoy dating for an extended period of time now. I know I'm never, when you see something new, you can't go back. It's impossible to go backwards to the way you used to view things.
Yeah.
When I was dating in the early days, it was with, totally, I wanted to meet the man of my life partner.
Right.
Now, I still am holding out for life partner material, but I don't know when that's going to happen or even if that's going to happen.
Right.
I'm
It may
just going to
not.
enjoy the process.
Right.
Exactly. It may not. I'm just going to enjoy meeting people, and wherever it goes, it goes. I don't have the need to control it or move it in any particular direction or make anything
See, that would
happen.
be a thought at a high level of consciousness. And by that, I mean you, with a thought like that, truly believed you live at a good feeling level
Yes.
by having that thought.
Well, I think I maybe have that thought because I'm living at a good feeling level. We know thoughts and feelings are one and the same. And really, neither comes before the other. They're just two sides of the same coin. But what I learned through my interest, my investigation of the three principles, what I learned from listening to Sid, and now anybody can listen to Sid. He's on audio, video. It's wonderful. But what I learned most was about living from a good feeling. That has changed my life. Totally changed my life. That's the most important thing. Now, am I there 24/7? No, I have my bad moments, but they're momentary. I don't live there anymore.
And why would you say that living from a good feeling is what's
important?
important, valued? What does it do? What does it do to live from a good feeling?
Changes everything.
Why? Why?
Like the pinnacle here. When people are in a nice state of mind, they see things more clearly. They recognize that all of this, their experience of the other person, the relationship, is coming from them. It's just things slow down. It's easy to realize that you're the creator of your own experience. I'm not thinking about all this, but I can see that when I'm in a nice state of mind, I'm just there. I just realize that I wouldn't ever think to blame somebody else for a bad feeling that I'm having.
And I would add
That's
something
crazy to me.
Yeah, I would add something to that.
What's that?
When we're in a good feeling, our mind is relaxed.
Yeah.
And that is what allows us to get new insights from wisdom.
Right.
And that's what allows us to be in the feeling of love and be in a feeling of peace.
Right. In the absence of thought.
In the absence of anything external.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. And I am there until I bump into this blind spot and can't see it anymore. Until I do.
Yeah.
And when I do, I'm fine. And when I don't, which happens more often than I would like, I'm not.
We're all on a learning curve, right?
Some more than others.
In some areas more than others, yeah.
In some areas more than others, for sure. Okay.
So any last words of wisdom? That last thing that you said, I hope people will backtrack and listen to it again, because that's so, so important. That if a nice feeling becomes our guidepost, our compass, I have learned from that to use my feelings as a compass through life. That if I'm not feeling good, it means I'm caught up in some kind of personal thinking that
isn't reality.
What?
Caught up in some kind of personal thinking that is not reality. It sure looks like reality, It sure feels like reality, but it isn't reality.
It's Memorex.
I don't even think people can relate to that
That's
anymore.
right. Giving my age away there, right?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, Jack, thanks so much. I'm going to turn off the recording, but will you stay on for a second? I just wanted to tell you about that.
Okay.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. It
It's
was a
great doing
pleasure.
this with
Okay.
you.
Great.
And everybody who's listening, look for Jack's books. Just go to Amazon. Jack Pransky, Pransky. Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.